In one of the most notorious exercises of extravagance, the Docker Daimlers were 5 lavishly appointed bespoke cars built between 1951 and 1955 that were the exclusive regal chariots of Lady Docker, wife of the Daimler Company chairman, who used these machines as the ultimate illustration of wealth in post-war British society. However, the delivery of these 5 unique and exuberant cars, together with the excessive lifestyle enjoyed by the Dockers, was paid for by Daimler's dwindling cash supplies. The Docker Daimlers, in combination with a neglectful management that allowed for an underperforming product range, leading ultimately to a corporate ousting of the chairman and his wife, creating one of the most notorious motoring scandals of the 1950s. The Docker Daimlers take their name from the then chairman of parent company, Birmingham Small Arms or BSA, Sir Bernard Docker, and his wife Lady Docker, the latter of whom these lavish cars would be built for, truly cementing her place atop the social ladder of Britain's elite during the post-war period. Born Nora Royce Turner of Derby in 1906, the Turner family lived above a butcher's shop prior to their move to Birmingham at an early age, with her father, Sidney Turner, being the part owner of an automobile dealership, though tragedy would strike at the age of 16 when he committed suicide, after which, at the age of 18, she departed for London to work as a dance hostess at the famous Café de Paris. It was in this capacity that she would court many prominent figures of British high society on the dance floor and begin her climb up the social ladder, one of her new friends being Clement Callingham, head of Henneke's wine merchants, which led to an affair and subsequent divorce for the latter, followed by Turner's marriage to Callingham during 1937 at the age of 31, the couple remaining married until Callingham's death in 1945, during which they would have son Lance and daughter Felicity, who died aged 9 months. In 1946, at the age of 40, she remarried, this time to the 73-year-old Sir William Collins, chairman of the Cerebus Salt Company and Fortnum and Mason in London, thus making her Lady Collins, though their marriage would not last, as the aging Sir William suffered from symptoms likely caused by Alzheimer's, his final months being spent in and out of comas at their Wexham Park home until he passed away in 1947, leaving Lady Collins as his sole beneficiary. Following her second husband's death, Lady Collins would find solace in the close friendship of Sir Bernard Docker, chairman of the Birmingham Small Arms Company or BSA, and a director of Midland Bank and Thomas Cook. BSA, as part of its extensive corporate empire, including the Daimler Motor Company, one of the UK's most prominent and distinguished luxury car makers, which had a clientele ranging from stars of stage and screen to business magnates, established gentry and royalty. In 1949, Docker and Lady Collins were married at Caxton Hall, and almost immediately, her affluent lifestyle became the highlight of Britain's upper social circles, with the resources of the Daimler Company completely at her disposal, especially once she had been appointed a director of Hoopers, Daimler's in-house coachwork building company that had been acquired in 1940, which only added to her exceptional fortune going into the 1950s. Among her many purchases included Llandiffe Castle in Wales at a cost of £12,500 or £355,000 in 2024, after which she spent a further £25,000 or £708,000 in 2024, furnishing it with all the finest luxuries available for the time, all of which was charged to the Daimler account. Now married to the company chairman and a director of the firm's main body shell provider, Lady Docker was quick to identify that the Daimler brand, following World War II, had lost much of its pre-war appeal on both the domestic and international market, her opinion being that, in the face of Rolls-Royce and Bentley, there was a worrying potential that the car maker would become a relic of a bygone age and thus lose its place in the market. Therefore, her first move, as supported by the incredible wealth inherited from her first 2 husbands, was to redirect Daimler's marketing in order to appeal to a new generation of buyers, and thus she began early notions as to developing a dedicated series of show cars that would revive public attention in the car builder and make it a household name. In collaboration with her brother, Royce Turner, and brother-in-law, R.E. Smith, Lady Docker personally contributed ideas to the design staff regarding the proposed show cars, working with Hooper's chief designer, Osmond Rivers, to create the most luxurious automobiles ever assembled, incorporating such esoteric materials as gold-plated brightwork and lizard or zebra skin upholstery. To begin with, while the first car was not technically a Docker Daimler, worthy of mention is a spiritual predecessor to the 5 notorious follow-ups dubbed the Green Goddess, which was launched at the 1948 British Motor Show and built on the DE36 chassis under number 51223. Green Goddess comprised a 5-seater drop-head coupe with a streamlined body that was painted jade green with a green-piped beige leather interior, creating what was by far the most expensive car at the 1948 British Motor Show, presenting a price of £7,001, or £210,600 in 2024, 7 of these cars being produced in differing colours, though all would receive the Green Goddess moniker by the motoring press. Other facets of the Green Goddess included an electro-hydraulically powered convertible roof with a metal tonneau cover that stowed the roof when retracted. While the side windows in the doors were electrically powered, the raked curved windscreen had 3 wipers, and the headlights were in recesses in the front wings behind perspex covers held in chrome bezels that were fluted at the top to match the trademark Daimler radiator grille. The car also had seating for 5, with an adjustable front bench seat with 3 individual backs, the outer 2 of which folded for access to the 2 rear armchairs, the backs of these rear armchairs having the ability to be folded for extra luggage space, and were centered such that their occupants could look between the heads of the front passengers for an unobstructed view forward. The column-mounted gear selector was extended almost to the rim of the steering wheel, providing fingertip control, while the speedometer could be switched from miles to kilometers per hour for driving on the continent, aluminium spats also being provided to cover the rear wheels, each of which had spring-balanced arms to move them out of the way for access to the wheels. In the end, 3 left-hand drive cars were exported to America, one of them being bought by James Melton, the famous opera singer renowned for his antique car collection, of which he had nearly 100 cars under his ownership, while the remaining 4 were sold among the upper classes of British society, with 4 examples of these cars still being known to exist as of 2024. The first official Docker Daimler, as commissioned under Lady Docker's scheme, was the 1951 Gold car or Golden Daimler, which was based on the DE36 chassis, and was so named for the use of gold on all the trimmings where chrome would normally have been used, as well as the application of 7,000 gold stars on the sides of the car below the waistlines, with Lady Docker stating that the production price was £8,500, including £900 worth of gold plating, a cumulative total of £266,200 in 2024 money. The upholstery and headliners in the rear were made from hand-woven gold silk brocade, and cabinets in the passenger compartment were made of Australian camphor wood, as chosen for its golden colour, the left cabinet of which contained a crystal and gold cocktail set, while the right cabinet contained a black and gold china tea set with a gold-plated thermos tea jug, the divider also containing a pair of folding tables and a gold vanity set, with gold-plated radio controls in the armrests. The upholstery in the driver's section was black leather with gold piping, with all side windows being double-glazed and the rear window having an electric demister, while the sunroof in the rear enclosure was made from toughened glass, and all of the windows, including the sunroof, side windows and division window, were electrically operated. Design elements carried over from the Green Goddess include the flush rear wheel spats on spring-balanced rods, and the headlights fared into the front wings behind perspex covers, with the bezels holding the headlight covers being plain and were not fluted as on the Green Goddess. The Golden Daimler won its class in the annual coachwork competition held by the Institute of British Carriage and Automobile Manufacturers, but following the removal of the Dockers from the control of Daimler, the car was decommissioned and its exquisite gold appointments were removed in order to provide short-term capital for the Daimler company, other changes including traditional headlamps being fitted, while during the ownership of Norris Allen, an American collector, the car was repainted in black and grey. Next to follow was 1952's Blue Clover, which was again based on the DE36 chassis, but was a touring fixed-head coupe rather than a limousine, the car being painted in 2 tones of powder blue and grey, with the lighter panels covered with a rectangular pattern of 4-leafed clovers painted in the darker shades, while the headlights were again set behind perspex covers, as done with the original Green Goddess and the Gold car, and the front wings tapered to the back of the car, with the rear wheels being again covered by spats. The seating was similar to that of the Green Goddess, with a 3-passenger front bench and 2 rear armchairs with folding backs to extend the luggage space, these seats being upholstered in lavender blue leather with dark blue piping, while instead of wood veneers, the interior was finished with grey-blue lizard skins that covered the steering wheel, the inside door panels, the cabinets on either side of the rear armchairs, and the manicure set fitted into the left door. The cabinets in the back contained a flask and glasses made of cut glass, a silver thermos flask, sandwich boxes, cups, saucers, and linen, while recesses above the rear seat held an 8mm cine camera and a pair of binoculars, with a tray under the instrument panel also holding a mirror, a comb, a clothes brush, 2 silver-topped jars, and a powder compact. The curved and raked windscreen and the electrically powered semi-elliptical rear quarter lights were made from triplex laminated heat-reflecting safety glass, and the electrically powered side windows were double-glazed, while the roof was thermally insulated and had a transparent sun panel fixed towards the front, with a blind underneath the panel to block the light when desired. Following its departure from Daimler, Blue Clover would be passed down through various collectors until it finally arrived in South Korea, being fully restored, and is now on display at the Samsung Transport Museum in Yongin, South Korea, which is the country's first car museum that opened in 1998. After this came 1953's Silver Flash, which was based on a Daimler 3-litre chassis rather than the DE36 of the 2 previous cars and the Green Goddesses, with chassis number 85001 being that of a Lanchester 14, but modified to take a Daimler engine, the Hooper body, under works number 9966, being a 2-seater 2-door fixed-head coupe with aluminium body panels, a sundial glass roof panel, and a smaller restyled version of the fluted Daimler radiator grille. The car was originally painted dark green, but this clashed with the interior, which had black leather upholstery with red piping, a red crocodile leather dashboard, and other red crocodile leather trim pieces, with Lady Docker, 2 days before its appearance at the Earl's Court Motor Show, ordering chief designer Osmond Rivers to repaint the body metallic silver. Upon its appearance at the Earl's Court Motor Show, Lady Docker christened the car Silver Flash, as inspired by the BSA Golden Flash motorbike on sale at the time. The Silver Flash, also having the space behind the seats, include 2 red crocodile leather suitcases strapped down with matching straps attached to the floor, while a shallow vanity drawer under the dashboard contained silver accessories, a vanity mirror, a powder compact, a cigarette case, a lighter, and a clothes brush. The car had a radio, a heating and ventilating unit, an internal shutter to block the glass roof panel, detachable rear wheel spats, a washer system for the one-piece curved windscreen, a demister, and a speedometer marked to 120 miles an hour, while the headlights were fired into the front wings in the same manner as the Blue Clover and the Gold car. After its debut, Silver Flash would be exported from England to the United States in 1966 to a collector living in Kansas City, Missouri, followed in 1974 by its sale to a new owner, and then its reappearance at auction during the mid-1980s, by which time its metallic silver body had been painted cream, the current whereabouts of the Silver Flash being unknown as of 2024. Next to come along was Stardust during 1954, which was based on a prototype DK400 4.5-litre chassis with number 92700, this car being of a similar design to the Golden Daimler, but unlike the Gold car's black with gold stars, Stardust was royal blue with silver stars and followed the previous design cues of the ribbed Daimler radiator and the Hooper-designed deep curved screen with 3 wipers and spats enclosing the rear wheels. The interior featured blue crocodile skin, silver brocade upholstery, and a nylon fur rug, with a 3-compartment cabinet being let into the partition that was built of aluminium rather than wood to save weight, with pale blue crocodile chosen for the capping and veneer, this central portion of the cabinet having double doors that opened to display cut glass decanters against a polished aluminium mirror back, this cabinet being flanked by 2 other cupboards, the doors of which lifted up to form a pair of tables. Glasses, silver, Wedgwood cups and saucers, cutlery, plate, and white linen were kept in boxes built into the capping, and a silver sunburst clock formed the centerpiece, as set into the crocodile skin, with 4 matching crocodile leather suitcases also being fitted into the large boot. Stardust would eventually be shipped to Monaco in order to partake in the wedding ceremony of Prince Rainier and Grace Kelly, though following this significant event, the car would fall into obscurity until it was found abandoned on a farm in Wales, after which it was restored to show condition in 1980 and then exhibited in the Black Hawk Museum in California, before eventually being sold and shipped to a private collector in Japan, with its most recent appearance being its £110,000 auction at the Goodwood Revival in September 2014. The final Docker Daimler arrived in 1955 with the Golden Zebra, which was again based on a DK400 chassis and comprised an ivory-white fixed-head coupe that featured hooded lights, spatted rear wheels, and gold-plated brightwork with seats and door panels upholstered in zebra skin, Lady Docker rationalizing the use of zebra skin by stating that mink was too hot to sit on. All brightwork inside and out was in gold plate, and the radiator mascot was a gold-plated miniature zebra sculpture with Lady Docker's initials inscribed on the door, the headlights and indicators being set into the front wings, and the curve of the wing formed a hood over the top of each headlight. As with the previous cars, the windscreen was made from heat-reflecting glass, all windows were electrically operated with additional controls for the driver, and the roof had a transparent panel with an internal shutter, while the interior was trimmed in ivory-coloured leather, and genuine ivory set in gold framework was used on the dashboard, as well as on all interior cappings and finishes. There were 2 cabinets in the rear, one containing cocktail equipment, including cut glass decanters, glasses, and thermos jugs, while the other held picnic equipment, including perspex sandwich boxes, cups, saucers, and linen, while a folding table was fitted in the center of the front seat, a manicure set in the passenger door recess, and an ivory-handled nylon umbrella in the lower part of the passenger door. This was complemented by a sliding tray under the passenger side of the dashboard, which held a folding mirror, a clothes brush, a comb, a powder compact, a cigarette case, and a cream jar. As part of the Golden Zebra's unveiling at the 1955 Paris Motor Show, Lady Docker commissioned a £5,000 custom mink and gold outfit, which she claimed back as a legitimate business expense, though much like the gold car, following the ousting of the Dockers from Daimler, the Golden Zebra was stripped of its expensive gold trimmings in order to drum up short-term capital to keep the company solvent. In 1966, the Golden Zebra, which cost £12,000 to build, or £261,100 in 2024, was offered for sale by Daimler distributors, Henleys of Chester, with 25,000 miles on the clock, for the derisory sum of just £1,400, or £21,700 in 2024, the price of a Citroën EC3 electric city car by modern comparison. After several owners, Golden Zebra ended up in California, though Daimler collector John Wentworth would procure the car in 1988 and return it to Britain, following which it was restored with exceptional detail, the main issue being the acquisition of suitable zebra skins, which was sold by sourcing the correct Kenyan zebra hides from a tannery in South Africa. Furthermore, the steering wheel was refinished, the instruments reconditioned, and parts replated in gold, the 18-year restoration continuing beyond Wentworth's death in September 2002, with his widow, Saya, finishing the project through the use of flamed sycamore and ivory wood instead of genuine ivory, the car eventually being sold by Bonhams in December 2006 for £177,500, and is now on display at the Lauwman Museum in The Hague in the Netherlands. However, while the Docker Daimlers were exceptional things of beauty, and truly the pinnacle of exuberant luxury motoring, the expense of not only building these bespoke machines was combined with the flagrant overindulgence of the Dockers themselves to support both their lavish lifestyle and the various means taken by Lady Docker to use herself and her high-end fashion sense to promote the cars at various motor shows. At the same time, the extravagant lifestyle of the Dockers, in a time long before the concept of the jet set, was one that appeared distinctly out of place in the post-war rations of 1950s Britain, with vast swathes of the population struggling to rebuild the infrastructure and economy of the nation, while the Dockers flaunted their wealth across tabloid newspapers, the couple spending most of their time in Monaco, which led to 2 notorious incidents. In September 1952, Lady Docker slapped a waiter in the face at the Monte Carlo casino, resulting in the couple being banned from the venue, while the reports of their incredible foreign spending were discussed in Parliament, with questions raised as to how much money they had taken out of the country during a period when regular British citizens travelling abroad were limited to only £25 foreign spending money per person. This episode thus attracted a huge amount of negative attention, and with the possibility of a court case ensuing with regard to their significant foreign spending, the directors of the Midland Bank voted unanimously to have Sir Bernard Docker resign from his position during January 1953. In April 1956, the couple attended the wedding of Prince Rainier of Monaco to famed American actress Grace Kelly, bringing the Stardust show car with them. But during the ceremony for the christening of Prince Albert in April 1958, Lady Docker was seen to tear up a paper Monegasque flag while seated at a table at the Hôtel de Paris, in protest of the fact that her son, Lance Callingham, had not been allowed to attend the event, leading to her banning from Monaco and the French Riviera and the return of her christening gifts. In order to pay for Lady Docker and Sir Bernard's extravagant lifestyle, tax write-offs and company expenditures were employed, but all this was bleeding the company dry, while the Docker Daimlers themselves were essentially the personal property of Lady Docker, as officially they were retained by the Hoopers Company, of which she was one of the directors, while in order to avoid paying out £5,000 for the golden mink outfit worn at the 1955 Paris Motor Show, she claimed she was merely modelling it, though the Inland Revenue rejected this statement. The matter of expenditure wasn't helped by Lady Docker's often confrontational responses to her critics, declaring that the creation of the show cars was done merely as a means to bring glamour and happiness into the drab lives of the working classes, while in 1956, following the replacement of Daimler models in the royal household by the Rolls-Royce Phantom 4, Docker was vocally outraged by this perceived snub, further damaging her public image. As this spiral of bad press continued, the Daimler company was left to stagnate due to there being no dedicated forward planning, while the existing product lineup was neglected, with too few cars being sold among far too many different models, thus causing significant overlap in their individual market segments, with 1955 seeing 7 individual models on sale concurrently, including 3 separate versions of the Daimler Conquest. By 1956, with Daimler facing financial ruin, the last straw proved to be the £5,000 bill attached to Lady Docker's notorious golden mink outfit, which the upper management refused to process under expenses, the company board ultimately choosing to vote out Sir Bernard Docker as chairman during May 1956 in a 6-3 vote in favour of his removal, with a new management team being organised under the chairmanship of Jack Sangster, former managing director of Triumph Motorcycles, another BSA company. This ousting of Docker was subsequently ratified by the shareholders at a meeting held at Grosvenor House on August 1st, with an announcement following at the end of the month that R.E. Smith, Lady Docker's brother-in-law, had seen all his appointments with the Daimler Group of companies be terminated by mutual agreement, Llantiffy Castle also being sold, while Lady Docker herself was removed from the director's position at Hoopers. Sadly, the financial damage caused by the excesses of the Dockers could not be repaired, and despite Daimler's attempted comeback with a dedicated sports car, dubbed the SP250, the company would ultimately fall into the hands of Jaguar from 1960, after which the Daimler brand was used to market top-end models of regular Jaguar cars, such as the Daimler Sovereign and the DS420, which were essentially Daimler versions of the Jaguar 420 and Mark X respectively. As for the Dockers, their removal from Daimler meant their once seemingly limitless supply of money had been cut off, while their own personal fortunes were not enough to cover the extravagant lifestyle to which they had become accustomed, the couple being forced to sell off their yacht Shamara for £290,000 against an asking price of £600,000, while Lady Docker auctioned away her extensive jewellery collections, leading eventually to them taking up bitter residence as tax exiles in the Channel Islands. Later, the duo moved to Palma de Mallorca, but with Sir Bernard's health failing, they returned to Britain, where he spent his final days at Branksome Park Care Home, dying on May 22, 1978, at the age of 81, while Lady Docker herself saw out the last of her days, living in the Great Western Royal Hotel above Paddington Station, eventually passing away on December 11, 1983, at the age of 77, a final snub to her legacy being that, against an expected funeral attendance of over 200, only 29 would ultimately attend. To summarize, the Docker Daimlers are perhaps the crowning example of excess, hubris, and corporate mismanagement, Cars built to inspire a new generation of affluent drivers to want to procure the products of the Daimler company, but would instead alienate and distance potential buyers due to their flagrant and barefaced displays of pure excess and indulgence, leading eventually to the ruin and downfall of both the car maker and the socialites who had put the firm in its terrible position.